Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to For All Mankind by Story Archives. I'm your host, Mario Busto, alongside
your other host, Zachary Newton. Welcome back. I should have said the other host. I reverted back to my old ways.
What did you just say right now?
I said your other host, but it always sounds like a slur of you're the host.
Well, you know, I'm the host. Anyways. All right. Leningrad, episode 6, right?
That is correct.
Leningrad would be a cool name for a show in and of itself, just Leningrad. It's a really cool city name.
It's very epic sounding.
It is. Reminds me of the old Medal of Honor days on PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 1. PS2.
Good game. PS2.
That's when war games used to be the best, when it was like straight up
Story.
World War II games.
Yeah.
You'd get a brand new game console and it'd always be highlighted by like the greatest war game ever. And we got to go back to our roots there, you know?
Man, that's what I loved Call of Duty about back in the day. I know I'm deviating here for a moment, but it was great because you got like straight story. I loved the campaigns, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. We got an interesting episode here. A lot of things going on. And thankfully, kind of isolated. We didn't bounce around to 70 different places. We mainly stayed in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed in Happy Valley, right?
Yeah.
I gotta say, and you're gonna disagree with me.
Okay. Probably.
I love Ed in this episode. I mean, he's
I completely agree with you.
Okay, you do?
Yeah, no, like this man, like this is the Ed I was wanting in this season.
You want rogue, pure chaos Ed?
Yes,
because
I gotta this say, Ed.
If I'm Danielle, like let's say I put myself in Danielle's shoes, like as a manager, I would hate Ed's ass. I'd fire him.
He'd be
like
gone.
He's like starting a coup pretty much on the ship. All right, but he's decided 2 days into his retirement that he's gonna make life a living hell for Danny, right? Because in the previous episode, although she didn't fire him completely, she removed him as XO, commanding officer, right?
Yes.
Or executive officer. So pretty much second in command to her. I believe Palmer now has taken his spot as XO.
Yep.
Although Ed is still a senior project director who Palmer reports to in certain areas. This is Danny probably trying not to completely kill Ed, right? But Ed has found a new life that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
And although I wasn't familiar with the book he was reading, it was called Sand Pebbles. Let me find that in my notes here. It's called. Hold on.
It was I thought I knew it as well when I was looking at it. I was like hoping I knew the book, but I didn't even recognize the title, which is crazy. And since we're on the topic of Ed, though, I think, and feel free to disagree with me if you want, but I think one of the big reasons why I like Ed now, starting in this episode, compared to the rest of this season so far, is for me, Ed has felt. Though he's still the same edgy guy, like he's bullish, right? Like he's like an anarchist in a lot of ways. This whole season up to this point, I feel like he's just felt lost. Like he seemed very lost. Like he didn't have a mission. He didn't have a purpose, really. He was just kind of living like, I don't know, man, just remembering the glory days or something. But this episode, finally, like he's got some fire under his butt. He has a mission. He's actually trying to do something. Whether or not it's, a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not going to comment on that right this second. But
yeah,
I like that he has a mission. He's got something he's trying to achieve. And that, I think, is what is really the turning point for him in this episode, at the very least for me.
Well, he's reading, I finally found my note here. He's reading a book called The Sand Pebbles at the very beginning. I'm talking about when he wakes up, he does a little morning routine.
Yeah.
It's a novel by Richard McKenna, which was also a movie. I think it's the only movie that Steve McQueen won an Oscar for, if I'm not mistaken. But the plot is, the novel describes a life of boredom and sudden battle action. All right, so it's pretty much like a disillusioned, like high up military member, right? And I'm trying to remember what I read yesterday, but essentially, it's kind of like this guy, I guess, finding himself like in a new chapter in a way. And I don't know anything about this book, but this is just a little synopsis I read, and it was kind of like just a very basic breakdown, but he like ends up riling up certain factors. And in this episode, what happens is, I mean, Ed has this realization. Maybe it's while he's reading the book, but he does revert to Maverick Ed, which he is always going to be Maverick Ed, right? He's a guy who, although he's in the military, he kind of only does what he wants to do at all times. And at a certain point in this episode, I almost thought he was going to be the union leader for these people. But I think that it's actually smarter what he's doing, which is he's stirring the pot for them to unionize and leverage their power, right? Because the demand for this iridium deposit on Goldilocks is such that these workers right now, if they don't unionize, which we just knew this was coming with Samantha's character, right? She was stirring the pot. She was pretty much just completely disgruntled in the entire season so far, ever since her, not her love interest, but her friend died in the first asteroid capture mission, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of predictable that now she's there kind of she's playing like the Freddie Thorne role here of unionizing. That's a Peaky Blinders deep cut.
I think I think she might be doing a better job though. Well, I don't know. Ed's doing a hell of a better job than Freddie.
Yeah, Ed kind of out of nowhere. What I love partly about Ed in this episode, because he does steal the show. This is definitely peak Ed of the season so far. He kind of, the whole time in the series, at least in this season, you don't know how much he's currently with it or how much he's out of touch. But this episode shows you that he's very much in touch with everything going on, to the degree that he knows the code to enter Ilya's bar. He doesn't need to ask for entrance. He knows the code to enter it. And I wonder if he went in there with the plan of stirring the pot from the beginning, or once he was overhearing the conversations about unionizing in the bar and he didn't speak up about it, and then saw the report from Palmer, who came to pretty much adjust the bonus rates, right, which was going to drastically increase the demand in order to get a bonus, right, and then reduce the amount that they were getting paid. He decided to take this opportunity to pretty much make Danielle pay for this and to show how much he can still control within the ship. So now it's a power struggle between the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like he probably approached that with the idea of stirring the pot. I mean, like, man, he left that room with a purpose. Like he really was aiming for something. We found out what. I mean, pretty quickly. I mean, he wants to take back control. He wants his wings. Is at least why I think he's doing a lot of this.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because I think he wants to get control, right, of whatever he was doing before. So he'll probably leverage the fact that he can calm these Union strikers down, because now he's earned their trust, right?
Yeah.
He also lets Ilya know immediately, I can sniff out a sill. If there's a sill anywhere near, Ed Baldwin can sniff it out. And he's even telling him tips on how to make the vodka taste less crappy, right?
Yeah.
And then he tells him, hey, how much you raking in on your black market stuff? He knows about the black market too. So he knows about everything going on the ship, so much so that I wonder if he knows more than Danielle does currently.
I would imagine so. I mean, Danielle's pretty new here. I can't, like, she looks like she's kind of still feeling her way around in some ways. I mean, Ed's been here for, God, what, like 20 years? Well, no, it's not 20 years. That's a grossed over exaggeration there. But no, he's been here for years.
Yeah, for years. We don't know the exact number, but it's a lot. It's decades, right?
Well, we know the kid, right? You know, his grandson, right, was born shortly after they all landed here, right? So it's probably somewhere around 10 years would be my guess.
Yeah. Let's talk about the fact that he just doesn't give a damn if anybody likes him or not. When he leaves his room, he's saying hello to everybody like they're his best friend, and nobody responds in kind.
Yep.
Okay? Then he enters the bar, and he knows he's the man, right? He knows he's walking in there like, yeah, I can blow all this shit up. Like, you guys would like this still? I don't care if you like me or not. And he goes in there and does his thing, puts everybody at ease. But then it's kind of interesting, this episode, right? Which I do love. I think it's really, really well done, because you got three people trying to disrupt this, like, the standard operating procedures, right? You got Ed, who's trying to stir the pot on Happy Valley. You have Miles, who pulls a full Heisenberg. Okay, he goes full Heisenberg and commandeers Ilya's whole operation. Really, he takes the bar. He says, "Hey, I'll let you come visit." You know, he does. He does a.
Come on, Milos.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, come on, Milos. He does. This is my territory. I was surprised he didn't do a whole
Say
my name moment.
Something like that. I'm thankful it didn't go any worse than it went when that went down, though. I'll say that at least.
It should have just ended with him talking to his wife on a long call, and he's just on the phone and goes, "I won." Just click. It just it's on his wife.
Oh,
but Miles has found a way to disrupt that completely, and we'll talk a lot about Miles in this reaction episode. And then thirdly, the other person disrupting the status quo is Margo. She's tired of being in the shadows. She obviously wants some power and recognition. I don't give a damn what she says. Mm-hmm. She says she's addicted to the work, but she also wants to take credit for all of her brilliant ideas, right?
Yeah.
And Margo doesn't have any friends or anything like that for the most part. So what does she care if the whole world hates her, right? She's now pretty much more Russian than she is American. At least that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, she even feels like that to me too.
She even says "we" at certain parts in this episode when speaking to Irina. So she is full Roscosmos out from head to toe. And honestly, she kind of feels like she feels like she'd be great in that system, doesn't she? Very effective.
She does. Yeah. I mean, she does what she needs to do to get what she wants. Like that's been her MO through this entire show.
Yeah. Yeah. And she does get what she wants because she is essentially the right-hand woman to Irina, right? She's in her ear. She's telling her what to say at all times. She's the smartest woman in the room, really. It's Aleida and her who are the smartest ones. What you see in this episode really is that Irina and Eli are more
political.
They're directors. They're administrators. They're not the problem solvers. They're not engineers like Aleida and Margo.
Yeah.
And you do get that touching scene, though, where Margo finally shows some emotion. And it's a heart-wrenching scene, right? Because you're thinking, Aleida thought Margo died in the terrorist attack, which I did not know that was the case. I didn't know Margo left on the wake, or pretty much with that timing, directly after the terror attack. I wonder if that was planned, if she meant to do it at the time, or if it was a coincidence. I'm not sure.
Like it was a coincidence, pure coincidence from this episode.
It's safe to say she probably would have died had she been at NASA, considering the shot we see of Aleida in these flashbacks of the terror attack at NASA is Aleida standing on this high floor with the pretty much the walls blown out, right? And she's just looking down, stories down.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Margo's office, and we get an explanation as to what she did because she wasn't there. She was at mission control. Okay, so she went up the stairs to her own peril, at her own risk, right? To see if Margo was okay. And so that's pretty, scarring, considering Margo's a mother figure to her in lots of ways, right?
Yeah.
And ends up thinking that Margo's been blown to smithereens for all she knows, right? She's never discovered in the rubble of this attack.
Yeah, I mean, everybody seemed to think that. I still feel like you would have found a body, right? I mean, it wasn't on fire. It wasn't like she was at the source of the explosion.
But nobody knew. Nobody knew that she was in cahoots with the Russians. So
of course, yeah.
For all they knew, she was obliterated. Who knows what happened to her? But
true.
Also, I knew it was based on the Oklahoma City bombing, the terror attack in the show that takes place in season 3 by none other than Jimmy. What's his face? What's his last name? Jimmy Stevens.
Yes.
At least facilitated by Jimmy Stevens, idiot. I'm so happy they haven't shown him in prison once in this series because we know he's in prison.
I don't care about his storyline, man. I don't know what he's doing with. I'm not gonna go there. Yeah, I don't care about his storyline.
I feel like we end up in a Stevens rabbit hole at least once an episode, but it's so interesting to me that the writers' room decided to absolutely slaughter that entire family and curse their children. Old Testament style, the whole family's gonna get wiped. That's kind of what occurs here. But we talked about this last episode. It does feel kind of like a theme is what happens to your kids when you just go to space and forget that you have kids. That's Kelly's kind of theme, and she chooses to bring Alex, which is another interesting tidbit because Ed doesn't give a damn that his daughter and his grandson are coming to this ship that he is literally starting a coup d'etat on right now. There's about to be a mutiny on this ship, probably.
I mean, I don't think it's going to go to the extent where there's a bunch of people getting murdered or anything like that.
You never know with Miles.
Well, all right, that's a different story. We can talk about that one a little bit later. But I don't think Ed's intention is for anybody to really get hurt. He just wants to seize control. He wants to take leverage of how angry everybody is and dissatisfied with what's going on, to get back in power. Really, probably put himself in Danny's shoes. That would be my guess at the very least.
All right, so we'll kind of like recap some of the things that occur. We got the summit going on in Russia. Helios is pitching a plan to mine this asteroid, right? And they need $2 trillion to do it, which ain't that bad if you split it up amongst all the M7. But hey, like real world alliances, usually the big countries pay for all the stuff, aka America. So they need to split it up amongst the M7. I say if Russia and America are paying the most, everyone else makes way less.
Yeah,
right?
It should be like a scale there, right? Like it's based on how much you put in. That's the percentage that you get out.
Yeah, it's like when what was it that a couple years back that Trump went to like the UN and he was like, hey, we pay for all your defense and everybody's gonna start to pitch in.
Yeah,
something like that is what's occurring here with Eli and Irina, and they're fed up. They're like, we're not gonna do this nonsense, right? Because it's $2 trillion. America and Russia are gonna pay for all the $2 trillion, and then we're not gonna see our money for 35 years, right? Yeah. Which is smart, right? Nobody's gonna take that sort of return on investment and wait 35 years while Helios is making $2 trillion up front. Right? They're not going to make the full $2 trillion, but you figure there's at least 30% profit margin in there, right? So, Helios is going to make solid money. Everyone else is not guaranteed success until Eli comes up with the brilliant idea of bringing the asteroid to mine within Earth's orbit and low orbit, which made me immediately think, like gut reaction, are we going to have a scenario where they miscalculate and the asteroid is going to come towards... And we have a unifying event that takes us to Star Trek.
No. Look, there was an Earth in Star Trek at least, right? That's what I remember.
No, Earth's not going to explode. It's just everybody's going to have to work together. Okay. They're going to have to destroy Goldilocks, and everyone's going to have to say goodbye. They're going to have to put mankind ahead of $20 trillion worth of iridium.
Good luck.
Anyways, they decide to pretty much change that plan up. Instead of mining it in Mars and bringing it back, they decide they want to bring Goldilocks to Earth and mine it in low orbit there, which would reduce the cost, or not reduce the cost, but it would actually reduce
the timeline greatly. That's the big thing. Yeah. Well, but it would reduce the cost because there's already an infrastructure in place. I just don't know how much it's going to reduce the cost. They can start mining immediately.
So NASA wants to do that in 8 weeks, which is crazy, right? So that should bring us to these last 4 episodes being insane, right?
Yeah.
Okay. On Happy Valley, we talked about Ed stirring the pot. Margo and Aleida have their reunion. And Margo does peg Aleida for what she is. She's an engineer at heart. She's obsessive like Margo is, and she's works her ass off. So whenever there's a problem at hand, Aleida's not leaving like Eli and Irina to go to the restaurant, right? They're going to work in the hotel room until the problem is solved.
Yeah.
And so we do get that bit. What do you think of the Aleida and Margo reunion?
It was oddly satisfying. I think it was nice to kind of see. I mean, they seem like they're just like such good friends in a way. I didn't tear up. Did you tear up? No, it was not
when Aleida hugs Margo? You didn't like feel it a little emotionally?
No, did you?
No, I was just asking.
I didn't think
I did. No, actually, I did. I did because I thought, not like dramatically, but I felt it was pretty much Margo's only emotional moment in the show because she's thinking
she's very robotic.
Yeah, she's thinking she's like gonna be rejected by the only person she cares about. Because I think Aleida at this point might be the only person she cares about. Yeah. Aside from Sergey, who's escaped to Germany.
I think so. Yeah, I believe he went to Germany.
West Germany or something like that.
Yeah.
And so you're wondering, is Aleida gonna just react horrified and pretty much put her in her place? And no, she hugs her immediately, but then gets back to putting her in her place and saying that, you didn't have to do what you did. What you did is treason. And goes so far as ending the episode with her fed up with hearing Margo's voice and turns off the TV, which ends our episode, right?
Yeah. Yes, it does. I really don't know what's going to happen with Margo's character after like this. Like, do you think she's still going to kind of play like that much of a I guess, a pivotal role in what's going on with Roscosmos, because
Yeah.
one of the things that she was told though in this episode was that if she comes out like she denounced her or announced her defection from the US, that she wasn't going to be trusted by America or the Russians. You still think she's going to be able to like have enough like weight to throw around these things?
Yeah, 100%, because you're useful until you're not, right? And genius is just genius, and Margo's a genius in the show. And if you're an a-hole, untrustworthy genius, you're still a genius, and if you're useful, you're gonna be listened to, right? It's it's one of those things where like if you got enough power, if you have enough say so, right? Whether the room likes you or not, they're gonna listen to you, right? LeBron James, that dude is a business, okay? He's literally a like him in of itself, like he single-handedly can kind of turn around like let's say he went to a small market NBA team. He could single-handedly like turn around the local economy in lots of ways, okay? That guy has so much pull in the league that no matter what he does, for example, let's just use an example. His son is playing at USC right now, okay? He has already said whatever team drafts his son, he will go to that team next year. So, in doing so, whatever team, what do you think? People are going to move up in the draft to try to take his son.
Yeah.
For him to go to their team. It's one of those things that if another player did that, they'd be like, get out of there. But he is so good at what he does that it doesn't matter. And Margo is so good at what she does that it doesn't matter. She's not untrustworthy. Let's get that straight. So the people who are in charge will know she's not untrustworthy. It'll just be the public perception of her that'll view her as a traitor and untrustworthy. But you get to know her and you know she's not untrustworthy, and she puts the job above pretty much anything else. Aside from falling in love with the wrong man, she's been all right.
That's about it. Though the job, the bigger mission, I think was probably at the core of a lot of that relationship. And at the very least, that's how it started.
Yeah. But she's very much put career in front of everything else in her life. So I don't see anything. Nobody's going to trust her in the public eye. The Russians, I do not think, will allow her to ascend. Like when she's dead, she's dead. Like there ain't going to be like
a funeral.
It's going to be like she was useful to us and now she's gone. And there will be like Aleida there by herself bringing flowers every year to the grave, or there will be such a catastrophe that occurs with this mission that Margo needs to be listened to, and then she'll become a hero for the whole world. And people will be like, oh, look at the love story. She saved Sergei's life. And we finally got clarity on that, actually, because we didn't know why Margo or how she ended up in Russia. And it was because it was a deal to make sure that they were safe. So she pretty much traded
herself.
Honestly, it's probably the most selfless thing someone could do. Unfortunately, it does fall within treasonous lines, right?
Well, she already had committed treason, I believe, right? With selling national secrets. Or not necessarily selling them, but giving them away.
Yeah. Which is worse. I mean, think about it. That's not as bad as selling them. If you think about it, right? She did it because they were threatening the life of someone she loved.
Yeah.
Right? She says she didn't give away anything mission critical. However, she really did.
Yeah.
I mean, according to Aleida, she did. But nonetheless, what are you going to do? She's Margo. She probably had never felt any emotion prior to, falling for Sergei. She was, like a robot that becomes sentient. She just didn't know what to do.
It was business above everything. That's what her entire life has been.
Either way, I'd say her part in this episode is probably the least interesting to me. The two most interesting parts in the episode was Ed stirring the pot.
Yeah.
And the last thing we're going to talk about, which is Miles going above Ilya after he almost nearly getting choked out by this Russian brute, okay? Goes above Ilya's head to the North Koreans and now has like these North Korean goons who are his enforcers because he is determined to bring Lee's wife to the ship, right? So he actually does strategically, tactically, the right move if he wants to keep this black market going, right? He takes over Ilya's entire trade, right? The thing is, he's decided to do this at the exact moment that he's unaware of because he's absent from the bar almost the entire episode until the end.
Yeah.
He's deciding to do this as Ed Baldwin has stepped into the scene.
Yeah.
you may get, have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? The
Yeah,
Tarantino film.
yeah, I have. It was a great
All right,
movie.
spoilers incoming for everybody who's listening. It's loosely based on Charles Manson, the killings of Charles Manson and Sharon Tate. But in this movie, there's a bodyguard who's played by, not a bodyguard, a stunt double who's played by Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
And Manson shows up to the Tate's neighbor's house. So Sharon Tate doesn't die in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It feels like to me that Ed Baldwin is kind of like Brad Pitt's character, and Miles is kind of like the Manson ringleader, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's gonna come to head with an old style cowboy, and everything's gonna go out the window for Miles. I texted you privately yesterday.
Yeah, you did.
I'm taking my L on the Miles bet. There's absolutely no way. I texted you that he's on a collision course for effing up in astronomical ways that cannot be fathomed.
Oh
and
my God.
I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know how bad it's going to be, but I am 100% certain that there's no way I'm going to win that bet that he's going to have any sort of redemption moment, because he is descending deeper and deeper into the dark side, and it's going to just end horribly.
It really is. I'm glad that you've seen my side here.
I gotta give it to you. That was pretty impressive.
I appreciate it, honestly. But no, like to your point though, like Miles escalated pretty quick here. I mean, he like it's not just he took over the bar. It's not just he edged Ilya out, right? That's not the problem. The problem is he's now basically in bed with the Koreans. So this is no longer just a localized issue where he's just making money, trying to get his way, make sure that he's able to run his black market operation. Now, this is now a very political problem that will probably have repercussions on Earth. At least would be my guess. Like, I imagine it's going to have some impact politically with what's going on, because they already were very closed off to everybody else here on the base. So just imagine what's going to happen now. They're going to own the import-export business.
We're doing a lot of Peaky Blinders deep cuts here, right? I think that's like another import-export thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Miles, I'm here for it, by the way. I think it's a pretty
interesting character.
Character twist. He's definitely been he's in the running for the most interesting side character that's been introduced in For All Mankind. Probably second placed to Molly Cobb.
Molly Cobb was really interesting. Yeah.
I love Molly. R.I.P.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, it's not going to end well. He's, like you said, he's in bed with the North Koreans now. He's digging himself a hole he doesn't understand. He's created a new trade of this obsidian, like this red lava rock obsidian from Mars.
Yep.
He is starting some human trafficking to Mars.
Yeah.
And he has a sill that I don't believe he's competent enough to operate. And I think, a sill has the potential of backfiring, or kind of just...
as it almost did a few episodes ago.
So let's see what occurs. And also, how are the regulars at Ilya's bar going to react to the Miles violent takeover of his operation?
I don't think they would be happy, right? Like I had that thought as well, but it's kind of a monopoly right now up there, right? Like, where else are you going to go get your booze and just go?
They got no choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you've got nowhere to put your feet up.
Nothing's worse than the guy who screws over the guy who brings the guy into the business.
Oh, yeah.
Ilya literally onboards this guy.
Sorry, I had some Peaky Blinders thoughts going through my head when you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm not going to say anything, but
yeah.
Go watch the show.
Hey, but speaking of Peaky Blinders, there's going to be 2 spin-off shows that are coming to Netflix.
Yeah, that should be interesting. Exciting.
They say one of them is going to be about Aunt Polly in the early days, which is kind of to me. I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
Maybe it covers her and the women when they were taking over the operation during the war. And then the other, I don't know what the other. I think the other one will be who knows what the other one's going to be. So they said something about Boston in the other one. So who knows? Maybe they're gonna bridge over.
It's the other one was supposed to be Boston after everything that took place in the entire Peaky Blinders
in
series
season
that we
6.
saw. Yeah, so like I'm thinking
Okay.
like 40s, 50s era.
So we'll get Cillian Murphy again for that for sure.
That'd be cool.
100%. That'd be cool. Yeah, man.
That'd be dope.
That would be dope. I just feel like Peaky Blinders can go on longer. But anyways, back to For All Mankind. You know what's great is we're the #1 Peaky Blinders podcast in the world. So
it's true.
We're literally
awesome.
we're the #1 Peaky, and I just feel like that's the show that nobody, like, not enough people know about yet. But it's one of the greatest shows out there. I literally heard Margo Robbie the other day. I was watching an interview between her and Cillian Murphy. You know, the Barbie Oppenheimer dynamic.
Yeah.
She said there are two types. Yeah, there's two types of people in this world. Those who are obsessed with Peaky Blinders and those who haven't watched Peaky Blinders yet. That's literally what she said to Cillian Murphy. And she was like, are you okay to revisit the role? And he's like, as long as there's story there, I'm down to be there. And it is the role of his lifetime.
That thing, I feel like that put him on the map. Like, at least it put him on my radar. That's for sure.
As a leading man in a major film series or major television series, he hadn't done anything over that long. I mean, he's been doing that for a decade. Yeah. That's his, like, John Hamm. But the thing is he's more versatile than John Hamm as an actor. At least
I agree. Every time I see John Hamm, I'm just like,
his voice is always Peggy in my office. It's like always Don Draper, which is one of the greatest roles of all time.
Yeah.
But Cillian Murphy is so versatile. Like, I could see him. I mean, we saw him in Oppenheimer. I can totally see him as James Bond if he so chooses to be in that.
We saw him as Scarecrow in Batman.
He could be a Bond villain if he wants to. I mean, he could do whatever he wants, right?
Yeah.
And I think eventually there will be like a discovering, like, holy crap, one of the greatest actors in the world did a 6-season television show, and I haven't watched it yet. Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Anyways. All right. So Miles takes over Ilya's operation. Ed has fully caused a strike on Happy Valley. That's how we end the episode. Mm-hmm. And Margo is now in charge of the Goldilocks capture program in Russia, with Helio seemingly having secured this deal to try to mine this asteroid within the next 8 weeks so that Al Gore can get reelected.
Good luck.
Does it succeed, Zach? Does it succeed or does it fail? Yes or no? Actually, let's do that. Let's make that a bet right now.
Okay.
Does the 8-week capture program of this Iridium asteroid succeed? Yes or no?
See, the problem is
it's too vague.
I feel like we're gonna. Well, I was gonna ask what you meant when you said succeed, but I was gonna say I feel like we're both gonna have the same bet, because my assumption is that no, it's not gonna succeed.
I was gonna say yes.
Well, then that's our bet.
Well, the thing is, for me, is like, if there's gonna be a season 5, they need this something. They need a technological renaissance. So it needs to succeed in order to get the funds to have this technological renaissance, because right now it feels like we're already in the future of where we are now. It's 2003 on the show. We're in 2023, and they're already ahead of us in terms of where they are base-wise with Mars Happy Valley. What's hilarious is they're still using big box televisions. Okay, I guess the technology only went to space exploration. Because Kelly still listens to the news on the radio, and Russia has old TV sets, like the old box TV sets.
That's true.
No LEDs.
It's a fair point. I'll still take the side of no. Like I feel like there's got to be something catastrophic that happens, though the catastrophe is probably going to be on Mars, not Earth. So
does Ed die in this season?
Huh. You know, I kind of feel like Ed would have like an off-screen death between seasons.
You think so?
How many of like the most beloved characters of this show can you kill off in a horrific way on screen, man?
Well, we've got 2 so far, right?
Yeah, I know, at least.
Karen
2.
wasn't beloved. Karen was hated.
Well, no, I wasn't talking about her. Okay. I was talking about Ed's best friend, his bud. The Stevens, man.
Well, we got 2. It's been a while since we've had one, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ed has a hero's send-off, right? Hey,
Yeah.
let's wrap this episode because I want to talk about an email we got in a scenario that we never discussed and never thought about.
Okay.
Danny Stevens offed himself on Mars. All right.
Yes.
So at the time, everybody was starving on Mars. And we had a YouTube commenter ask, did they eat Danny Stevens?
I can't not have a straight face or smile. I can't have a straight face and hear that at the same time. No, I don't think anybody ate Danny Stevens. Man, that guy was like rotting in his own suit. I'd hope nobody ate that. They'd be poisoned.
True. He would have like radiation all up in his. I also do not think they ate Danny Stevens.
That's
but I certainly don't. I certainly hope we don't have some sort of Heart of Darkness situation, right?
I don't know the reference, but I hope Danny in charge now is not a cannibal. Yes, I agree.
Am I using the right quote?
Heart of Darkness?
I've been using the entirely wrong quote. Heart of Darkness is about cannibals, but they're not the cannibals I'm thinking about.
What do you think? The
cannibals I'm thinking about is the whale movie. There's a bunch of people who like it. Is it Moby Dick?
Well, I mean, that is a whale book, right?
No, but Moby Dick is not the one I'm thinking about. There's a movie that Zach ad-lib.
Ad-lib. You're always throwing it to me with freaking ad-libs, man. I will pivot away from this and talk about Ed for a moment, because one of the things I was going to ask you, look, man, like I love whiskey. I love a strong drink.
Jesus Christ, I don't ever want to Google this again.
And Mario's just looking at cannibals right now. I don't understand how Ed could literally drink as much as he did. I mean, I've never met somebody that could drink that much, first of all. And
In the Heart of the Sea.
Okay, see, there we go.
I've been calling it Heart of Darkness. What are the odds that I got the name wrong and the movie was still about cannibals? What the hell?
In the Heart of the Sea is a cannibal movie, and that's got
In the
Cillian
Heart
Murphy
of the
in it
Sea.
too. What?
It's a recounting of a New England whaling ship sinking by a giant whale.
You told me about this once.
An experience that later inspired the great novel Moby Dick. And I think In the Heart of the Sea.
I gotta watch that. 1820s.
Yeah, and the men spent the horrific true story behind Moby Dick. The men spent over 3 months at sea and had to resort to cannibalism in order to survive. Yeah. All seven sailors were consumed.
That's special. What an interesting cast. Chris Hemsworth, Cillian Murphy, Tom Holland, Benjamin Walker, Ben Whishaw,
Cillian Murphy,
Brendan Gleeson. Yeah.
But Brendan Gleeson's the only one I remember in that movie.
Yeah,
he's the only one I remember.
Literally says Cillian Murphy and Tom Holland and Chris Hemsworth.
That's right. I remember Cillian Murphy now. And that's a loaded cast, by the way. Holy crap.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that. It's on
Frank
my list.
Frank Delane's in there. I know you're probably not familiar with him, but he was in The Walking Dead, but the spin-off Walking Dead.
Fear of the Walking Dead.
The Fear of the Walking Dead. He was great in that, and then he's also in The Essex Serpent. He's terrific in that. Frank Delane's in Harry Potter? No, he's not.
He's in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, I believe.
He plays young Tom Riddle in The Half-Blood Prince. That's who he plays.
Interesting.
He's a hell of an actor. I don't think he's really gotten his shine yet. He's kind of like, he reminds me of Cillian Murphy in a way that I feel like in 10 years, he'll be a household name. Like he'll do a show and he'll be sick in it. He reminds me of a young Johnny Depp as well, in terms of like the versatility and his mannerisms. He kind of looks like him a little bit too, or has the same vibe. Like I feel like he had Johnny Depp posters up on his wall, like growing up. Like I want to be that actor. But who knows? He doesn't act like that at all in The Essex Serpent. He's more like that, kind of like in Fear the Walking Dead. But he's not like I have to see him in a lead role. Like Essex Serpent, Tom Hiddleston carries that show with Claire Danes.
Yeah,
he's just a side character who plays like a doctor friend. But no doubt, talented actor. One of those that if I knew he was in a show, I'd check it out just to see, all right, what's the show about? He usually doesn't do bad stuff. So I respect actors who, I don't know if they're reading the material or their agents are reading the material, but who pick their material well so that the projects they're doing are always good. Anyways, Zach, let's do the categories, man. You're always driving these episodes so long. It's like ridiculous, dude.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Throwing me here. All right. Favorite character of the episode. I think we're both going to agree on this one, but
yeah,
let's do it. Let's get out of the way. Let's say it on
Ed
3.
Baldwin.
2, yeah, all right. Well, that's fine.
3,
You said it.
2, 1.
Ed Baldwin.
Baldwin.
There we go. Best
Admiral.
character of the episode. Best episode of the season for him as well, in my opinion. So, you can disagree, but
yeah, no, I agree. 100%.
Cool. Favorite scene in the episode. That was tough because there's some interesting ones in here. Like,
this is tough.
Let's limit it to like top 2, top 3, maybe.
Okay, so we're gonna have the same ones probably.
Yeah, but I want it in the same order.
Ed entering the bar.
Okay.
Right? I'm like saying him entering the bar plus pretty much, telling Ilya, I know about your black market and all that stuff, and like threatening him. I thought that was cool.
Okay.
That's one.
That's one. My first one, I think, was Ed leaving his room and walking down for the first time, saying it with the, what was it, That's Life song playing on the background.
Oh, the Sinatra, That's Life. I wrote that in my notes, like great song selection.
I'm a sucker for any scene with a Sinatra song.
I wonder how much they had to pay to use that song.
Isn't it? I swear it's the second Sinatra song in this season that they've used. I might be wrong.
No, I think you're right about that, but I don't remember what the first one was.
I mean, My Way, was it?
No. Did they do My Way?
I don't know. I don't think it was that.
And now
anyway,
the end is near. And My Way is not an early season song. That's like an end of season song.
Second scene.
Yeah. Miles with the North Korean takeover. Pretty much like the bar scene where he tells him, Ilya, it's no longer your bar.
Yeah. I think my second favorite was the bit between Margo and Aleida.
The reunion?
Yeah, I liked the reunion there.
That was my third one. So
my third one is the one that you picked.
The bar.
The bar takeover. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it.
Same ones.
Those are the ones. I guess not so much a category, but a question, since you threw me a moment to banter. The amount of drinking that Ed did in that bar.
Should have at least led to some throw up, at least a little bit of throw up.
Man, I feel like that guy had like 2 bottles of vodka. Like,
he should have been throwing up everywhere.
Yeah, it can't be that weak. Like that guy, like if he wasn't throwing up, like he should be like poisoned or something.
Ed has to be 70-something years old in this show, or 80.
Sure, I mean, he looks like he's up in his 70s, like mid 70s. To me, at the very least, he probably hasn't had that much to drink because there's only one bar in the planet, literally.
Yeah.
So
that's
I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. The only bar on Mars.
Yeah.
Mars.
That's some marketing right there.
Yeah.
All right. You got anything else you want to go over? Any other cannibalistic emails, comments, messages?
No, that was just one commenter on YouTube. And you know what sucks is like I read that comment and I was like, I really didn't want to read that. Like that comment, I was like, man, that's kind of disgusting. But it's a valid thought. It's a valid thought.
Yeah, I mean, food was running low.
I'm completely in shock still that the name of the novel and movie that I was trying to reference has been completely wrong for about 3 episodes now on this podcast. And now it's and it happened to be about the same damn theme, I guess. Anyways,
I mean that's convenient. Yeah. There's one other thing, and then we'll close it out.
Okay.
That we didn't really mention. With all of this stuff going on in Mars, we've got first of all, now we have the asteroid that's people are going to attempt to redirect towards Earth to be mined in Earth's orbit.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We've got the strike going on Mars, and the coup that Ed is planning.
We don't know about the coup yet.
Well,
we don't know about the coup yet.
Sorry, I mean, I think it's a little tired. I know my talking is boring, But I think it's pretty obvious. Like that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to take over control, or at least get back into a position of power where he could fly. That's what I think at the very least. Man, I'm waiting to see the look on Dev's face when he arrives on Mars.
And it's just completely gone to hell. There's a
It's
union
just
strike.
Gone to hell. There's a strike. The person that he thought was in charge is not in charge anymore. The asteroid, which I think was probably one of the primary reasons he was going to Mars for, is
It's
not
going
even
to
on
Earth.
its way to Mars anymore. It's going to Earth. Like, this is going to be a very interesting arrival for him.
Yeah, I'm assuming he'll arrive next episode with Kelly and Alex, if I had to guess.
They gotta. They can't hold it off another episode.
They're doing a good job of not delaying things too much in this series. But yeah. All right. Some housekeeping, I guess.
Go for it.
Thank you all for tuning in. We hope you're enjoying our coverage of For All Mankind. We also hope you're enjoying our coverage of Hard Knocks, Miami Dolphins edition. Dolphins just whooped them Jets on Sunday, 30-0.
Wow.
And we await the Cowboys on Christmas Eve. Big game. Neither team has really beaten a contender yet. So one of them has to give. Okay, we hope you're enjoying that coverage. We're also covering Monarch Legacy of Monsters. And let us know what you think. Email us at contact@soapbox.house. Leave us a review if you're enjoying the show. 5 stars. Help us defeat. Man, Zach, there are some people out there that are so annoying. Yeah. Okay, they leave us 2-star reviews and tell us, stop covering Hard Knocks. We don't care about Hard Knocks. Like, they're speaking for the whole audience. We don't care about Hard Knocks. Like, bro, to leave someone a 2-star review as a matter of opinion, you got to be the most miserable person in the world. Like, that's our show. That literally brings down our rating. They are pretending to be supporters of the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in supporting the show, they are bringing down our rating. It's incredible.
Yeah. There's this funny option that you have on your phone, computer, iPad when you come across an episode that you don't care to listen to. You just don't hit play.
Hey, it's a crazy feature that all platforms seem to have. But hey, that's not the majority of you out there. That's literally the special ones. If you want to see their names, have fun one day and just scroll through our Apple reviews and and you'll see some of the most miserable reviews you'll ever see. And most of them are just like, talk about what we want you to talk about. All right, bub. Why don't you go start your own thing? And then I'm going to leave your ass a 1-star review. But all right.
Love it. Well,
to your stuff, Zach.
Thank you for listening to this episode of For All Mankind by Story Archives. You can find this podcast anywhere you find podcasts, Apple and Spotify podcasts. You can visit our website at soapbox.house. Email us at contact@soapbox.house. And we do have a link in the description below to sign up for our quarterly newsletter.
Until next time.
Have a nice soul.
Hey, nice, Zach. All right.
Thanks.